computer. Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Pandit Sharma's record will take me 10 minutes or 15 minutes to read. He worked with P.V. Narasimha Rao. He was invited by the dignitaries from around the world. He's been a state guest in Iraq, Libya, and other places. He has given advice to all the ministers around the world. He is one of the most recognized. He also spoke at the Capitol Hill to the Congress a few years ago, and I happened to meet with him, and it's such a beautiful thing that he is contributing to the Indians Together format. And Sharmaji, I want to say a whole lot, but I think you can say Dileep has been recognized as, although he's not a Hindu Pandit, but I call him a Pandit because I recognize he has been in few seminars about what do the scriptures say and what we can do. And he is a good student, good scholar on that area. And here we got Pallavi. Pallavi is recognized as an outstanding medical doctor in the state of Maryland. She is also Miss Canada, Kannada Kuta, that is Kannadiga's Miss. She contested and she was the runner-up. And I don't know, there is a whole, she has served our nation through the US Army. And I would like to say a whole lot, but I think once I have the resumes in my hand, I can read more, but I'm just offhand, I'm saying this. Now let's start the program with Dr. Sharma invoking on Diwali. It's a good beginning, and what an auspicious day. People ask me, is this going someplace? Everything starts with a dream. Everything starts with a small idea, a small prayer, and then it grows as people start seeing the value in it, how it is beneficial to all of us. So Sharmaji, I'll let you start.
क्या मैं हिंदी में बात करूं या अंग्रेजी में करूं?
दोनों में.
अच्छा ठीक है. सबसे पहले तो जो दीपोत्सव है आज, उसके लिए सब लोगों को हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं. और ये इसका मूल मंत्र है तमसो मां ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतम गमय. तमसो मां ज्योतिर्गमय. हे ईश्वर, हे परमपिता परमेश्वर, हमको तमसो मां अंधकार से प्रकाश की ओर ले चल. इसका आधारभूत सिद्धांत ये है, और इसकी शुरुआत होती है नवरात्र से. बेसिकली नवरात्र में हम महाकाली, महालक्ष्मी, महासरस्वती, दिस इज द कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ थ्री गोडेसेस, goddess of power, goddess of wisdom and goddess of wealth. तो नवरात्र साधना से इसकी शुरुआत होती है, जो कि हर साल में 2 बार आता है. और अल्टीमेट इसका जो आता है वो है दीपावली. दीपावली की बहुत पुरानी परंपरा है हमारे यहाँ. कहा जाता है भगवान राम जब लंका विजय करके लौटे थे तो अयोध्या में दीपोत्सव किया गया था. और भी बहुत सारी कथाएं हैं इसके साथ जुड़ी हुई. लेकिन मुख्य बात ये है कि भाई ये एक ऐसा उत्सव है जिसमें सब लोग बड़े उत्साह के साथ भाग लेते हैं. और हमारी इकोनॉमी को ये बहुत बड़ा स्टिमुलस पैकेज के तरीके से है. इंटरबिल्ट स्टिमुलस पैकेज है ये इंडियन इंडस्ट्री के लिए ही नहीं, बल्कि सराउंडिंग कंट्रीज के लिए भी. आई से सार्क कंट्रीज, सो देन लाइक दैट. सो लेकिन जो मुख्य बातचीत जो आपने आधारभूत सिद्धांत रखा आपने इस टॉक्स का, कि हम अपने राष्ट्र को किस तरीके से जिस अंधकार की तरफ वो बढ़ रहा है उसमें जाने से कैसे रोके.
आप इंग्लिश में भी.
Okay, so the basic concept which you have enunciated is that how to stop going in that darkness. And for that, I would like to say only, unfortunately, today the powerful people here in control here in India, though they claim to demand and say सबका साथ, सबका विकास, सबका विश्वास, पर लेकिन ये महज कहने की बात है, इसमें कहीं दूर दूर तक सच्चाई नहीं है। सब, क्योंकि जो ये सेंटेंस बोलने के बाद बेसिक बात यही, उन्होंने जो विचारधारा अपनाई है, जिसको वो पूरे देश पर थोप देना चाहते हैं, विचारधारा के मूल तत्व को वो खुद ही नहीं जानते। आपने कैपिटल हिल का जिक्र किया, तो कैपिटल हिल में मैंने यही बात उठाई थी। अभी जो सो कॉल्ड हिंदुत्ववादी लोग हैं, उनको पता ही नहीं हिंदुत्व का असली अर्थ क्या है। जो हमारी वैदिक परंपरा है, जो सनातनी परंपरा के आधार पर चलती है, तो सनातनी परंपरा में तो मूलभूत बात यह है, उदार चरितानाम वसुधैव कुटुंबकम, that the whole human race here on this earth is just like a family. और हमारे यहाँ जो मंत्र कहे जाते हैं, सहना भवतु सहन भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै, सबकी बात करता है वो। Individual faith, no, they talk about the whole human race. The basic, because the Veda is constitution of this universe. So how it can differentiate just because of some people have some different faith, some different system of ritual to philosophy. It has nothing to do with that. फिर वो कहता है सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्ति मा कश्चित् दुःख भाग भवेत्। हे ईश्वर, हे परमपिता परमेश्वर, हम ऐसे कार्य में लगे सर्वे भवन्तु, जिससे सब लोग, सब प्राणी सुखी हो। देखिए, वो ये नहीं कहता हिंदू सुखी हो। यहाँ जो फिलोसफी अपना कहीं कुछ और जाती है और अंदर रिफ्लेक्ट हुआ जा करके वो, जो कि हमारे बेसिक इंस्टीट्यूशनल सिस्टम के भी अगेंस्ट है। तो ये कहता है सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सब प्राणी सुखी हो, सर्वे सन्तु निरामया, और सब निरोग हो। मां कश्चित् दुःख भाग भवेत्, हम कोई भी ऐसा काम ना करें जिससे किसी भी प्राणी को लेस मात्र भी दुख हो, क्योंकि उसका मूलभूत अवधारणा ये है, जीवो ब्रह्मैव न परा, जीवो ब्रह्मैव न परा। ये ऋग्वेद की ऋचा है, that says that each and every individual lies the soul of Almighty God. You may call it God, you may call it Allah, you may give any name, beat, and each and everything in each and every individual is the same. It doesn't differentiate.
So you have a formula, a small formula. The current sthiti kya hai is what is the situation, how we can change it, where every Indian feels secure about his race, ethnicity, whatever uniqueness he has got. How can we make India a secure place for everyone? Some short items.
I just told you that we will have to really inculcate our basic philosophy in action, our Vedic philosophy in action. Though they say and claim that we will bring Hindu Rashtra, but they don't know what is the Hindutva. Hindu doesn't differentiate. So until less this system which is in power today, who want to thrust upon their own ideology and set aside our all constitutional bodies all regulatory bodies, whether it is Election Commission of India. Can you imagine how the elections are being held here in India? We call ourselves a democracy, but where is democracy? The elected government of the Karnataka, you just said about Madam Pallavi, and you told me that she's from Karnataka. There was a democratically elected government in power in Madhya Pradesh. They were dislodged. And each and everybody knows how the opposition party MLAs by the ruling party today, earlier they were in power, how they were bought. So what is the meaning of democracy then? What is the meaning of these elections? Now, whatever has happened in Bihar, you see, in the name of the democracy and the election, what has happened in Bihar? So these things have to be given, go away. And our real constitution have to be implemented in word and spirit. And all our constitutional bodies will have to be empowered. But this setup will not do. Be very clear on that.
Sharmaji, you can say 3 things as an individual Indian, what I can do, and conclude your statement, and then we'll go to Dileep.
I think we can simply try to awaken the people that they should rise above their narrow-mindedness, because our basic concept says that we are one together. We should not differentiate just on the basis of caste, creed, religion, or anything else. No, because that cuts short of our basic concept, which says that each and every individual here all over the earth is just like a family. In family members, they don't differentiate, number 1. Number 2, we will have to see together that these constitutional things, constitutional bodies have to be empowered again, and the regulatory bodies have to be put in place again through the global pressure. It will not happen from here. The democracy and secularism has to be seen in reality. These are the 4 important things according to me.
Thank you very much, Sir Sharmaji. Now we go to Dileep Thatte, and Dileep, please share the current situation, what we can do as individuals to bring about a change.
Sure. Well, thank you, Mike. I want to start by wishing everybody a happy Diwali. As Sharmaji said, very important festival and start of a new financial year also. So wish you a very prosperous new year coming up. I also want to congratulate and thank Mike for this opportunity as well as starting this initiative. I think it's very important, the Cohesive India, and I'll talk to what's in it for us and how it would benefit us and our next generation who are committed to living in this country. I'm assuming, for Sharmaji, you live in India, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, whereas Pallavi, you live here in Maryland. And so am I in Maryland, and Mike is in DC. So 3 out of the 4 of us are here. My children are born and raised here. Mike's children are born and raised here. We ain't going to go back. Let's face the fact. So our affection for India is because we are from there, and our children will continue to some extent that affection, and our grandchildren might slowly taper off, but they might still have some attachment to India. So what's in it? And I will touch upon that as well. So let me take a little different perspective. I agree with Sharmaji all along that the Hinduism is a very comprehensive way of life and religion which incorporates everybody. So if you go by the pure Hindu thought, there will not be any conflicts because Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. However, the reality, Sharmaji, is that is not the case. And however we as Hindus may consider this, most other religious people may not agree to be Hindus. And certain aspects of their own religion, and we need to respect that. And that is the fundamental basis of pluralism, that you respect them. There are fundamental differences between Abrahamic religions and Sanatan group of religions. And by Sanatan group, I mean the Hinduism, Sikhism, Buddhism, Jainism. They have a lot of commonality, whereas the Abrahamic religions of Judaism, Christianity, Islam, they have a lot of commonality. And there is almost, in many cases, they have very lot of similarities, but in a number of cases, there are almost 180 degrees difference. And we need to respect that, because that is what pluralism is all about. And we will get into that some other time. This is not the place and time, but I talk on this subject, and I teach, educate people about Hinduism and interfaith. The cohesive India, one of the things we are making an assumption that it is not a cohesive India. And my premise is that to some extent it is a cohesive India. There is a lot of movement. However, India is probably one of the few countries where so many religions, and there are 8 religions are thriving. And I mean by thriving because in the last 70 years that we have had independence, the proportionate of all minority religions as a percentage of the population as well as the number has grown. No other country, many of the countries surrounding India, Islamic countries, theocracies, religious people, is gone down substantially. Whereas in India, that has gone up. That itself indicates that it is a very cohesive, it is a very receptive kind of a society, majority being Hindus, and they think the way Pandit Sharma ji was telling, that, you know, we are all in it together. So nevertheless, I'm glad this initiative was started by Mike, because there is a lot of scope for improvement. What I heard and I keep hearing, and Indians together, is criticism of the current government. And it is not without basis. I understand that fully well. But the same situations, sometimes they have been very aggressive in making things happen the way they want. Classic example being during Indira Gandhi time, there was an emergency, you know, and I don't want to get into politics because that's a different subject altogether. There are reasons why governments do what, and every reason to criticize what is happening now, what has happened in the past. But one of the reasons, and I have about 3 points what the current situation is. The reality is there are some groups of religious minorities who don't feel at home or safe in India today. And that has to change. And I agree with that. Secondly, the politicians are exploiting these differences. And that has to change. There are situations, there are political parties with the name, religious names, such as Ittihadul Muslimin, MIM. And their only point is, I am a Muslim, so you will vote for me. And that's how they are. So the politicians are dividing the whole society into religious groups. That has to stop. And the foreign countries are exploiting this and funding. We know very well Pakistan has supported the terrorists who attacked Bombay, for instance. This is well known, you know. And Lashkar-e-Taiba is active in exciting and inciting Muslim population in India. There are Western countries who are encouraging conversion and the Catholics in India. There are, and there's a lot of money coming in. So these foreign interference in India is because of two reasons. One, they look at it as an opportunity to grow their religion, is to weaken India. So regardless, that is what is happening. These are the three reasons why the cohesion is in bit of a trouble or is weaker than what it ought to be. So what can we do, Miss, to keep it a little shorter? I would get into some of the areas that I would like to touch upon. I looked at the Center for Pluralism website, and Mike has done a great job of enlisting and new cultural, gender, social. These are the areas for pluralism. And interestingly enough, independent of that, when I was thinking last night about writing down, some of the points were in the similar areas. But I added one more thing, and that is justice. Justice has to be uniform. Today in India, there are so many laws. There's Muslim law, there's Hindu law, there's this law, there's that law. What kind of nonsense is that? In a democracy, there has to be a single rule of law, which is applicable to everyone. And a secular country, by definition, secularism by definition is divorcing between the state and the religion, separation and segregation of state and religion. And you start bringing religion into the law, you're not separating the religion and the law. So that is one of the biggest problems, and that has proliferated into reservations. So we want reservations for this, we want reservations for that, and these are the vote gathering, vote gaining, points that the politicians exploit. So in my judgment, the first thing, or one of the things we can do or promote and support, uniform civil code for all Indians, regardless of where they live within India. And that was the reason why I supported, and I'm still supportive of the 370. Mike and I disagree on that, but that's fine. We respect each other's opinions. But I, for one, feel that if a certain part is a part of the country, then it has to have that country's law. You cannot have a different law for Texas versus California versus Maryland. There's single law for federal government. State laws could be different, yes. State laws can be different, but you cannot have a different law, federal law, for New Hampshire versus Nevada. And that is what is happening in India. So one is the justice, uniformity of religious freedom. Religious freedom should be uniform. You cannot pamper to or support one religion over the other. There has been a lot of these things happening in India for the last 70 years. There's a different regulation from the central government for Waqf board, and the Waqf, which is the Muslim property owners, like, mosque owns certain property versus the property owned by temples. There's a completely different angle. When the state government gets involved with the temple properties, whereas they leave it alone if it is a church property or mass property. Why? There has to be uniformity in the religious laws. There is subsidies for Hajj, but there were never subsidies for any of the other pilgrimages. Why? Either you take all the subsidies out. In fact, we should take all the subsidies out, because you segregate the state from the religion, law from the religion. Religion is independent in the individual situation. So uniformity of religious freedom should be there, and that the government has to do. The next one is the personal and social mobility. Education, there has to be a certain basic education which has to be given to all the individuals who are getting educated in India. I grew up in Hyderabad, Dakhan. Okay, I'm a Marathi man, but I grew up in Hyderabad. So I know South, very close to Karnataka, And I am Marathi, so I know Marathi as well. And I grew up after independence, but several years ago. I'm a lot older than Pallavi, you. But what I learned in history, Indian history, was pathetic. There was hardly any coverage of Vijayanagaram kingdom or Bahmani kingdom and all that. There was mostly about the Delhi-based Mughal empire and then books and books of British Raj. That's all we learned in history. So the education should be revised in such a fashion that the whole country is taken into account. There have been some really powerful kingdoms in India during the times, and they have not been taught. And then acceptance. And the third thing I was going to say that a lot of times the education is given with a view to not hurt any religious minority. You know, there has been a lot of massacres of the Hindus by the Islam invaders, but that is not taught. Why? Because you are sensitive to the Muslim thought. I mean, Muslims also did a lot of good things. They built monuments. They did a lot of good things. But we learned about those. But what happened to the Hindus, we don't learn that, and that is very one-sided. In short, I feel that we are all right now. We are sitting here. We have a very similar DNA. Mike is closer to me than any Muslim from the Middle East in terms of DNA. Mike, you are my brother. Just because your great-grandparents converted, no, true, it is true, isn't it true? Just because your great-grandfather converted to Islam doesn't make you a different race or different person. So that brings me to the culture. Our culture is the same. And what do you define culture as? Culture is not religion. Culture is one definition, again, as the lead activities that you engage in to satisfy and satiate your senses. Okay, music satisfies your hearing sense. You know, food satisfies your taste buds. You know, flavors satisfy your, paintings, and good clothes or definition of beauty satisfies your eyes. So the activities which involve satisfaction of your senses is typically culture. Now, there is an overlap of culture into religion. I understand that, but by itself, culture of all of these, whether you are a Indian Muslim, whether you're Indian Christian, they like as spicy food as I do. They like the same kind of saris that you and Pallavi likes and anybody else likes. So our culture is the same. Our DNA is the same. Just because some people's parents, grandparents, great-great-grandfathers, parents converted in religious, in the way they worship, whom they worship, what they believe, does not make them different. They are a part of the same group. And that thought has to come. And that has to be both ways. The majority Hindus have to accept that. And the minority, the Muslims and the Christians, must accept that one day, at some point in time, 200 years ago, 300 years ago, their ancestors were the same as the present majority. Whatever is the reason they got converted. Some got converted because of the force. In fact, majority of them got converted because of force. Many got converted because of incentives. You know, there was a farman brought by Aurangzeb that if you're not a Muslim, you will have to pay jizya. A lot of people got converted in that time. And history is witness to all that. So that's okay. That's okay. So, but once there is a recognition of that, then people will say that, hey, there's not much difference between me and Mike or Dileep and me just because I go to mosque as against temple. Let us not fight only based on the religion. Today, all of the uniformly, majority of the Muslims are being incited by the Muslim leaders against the current government, and majority of the Hindus are being incited against the Muslims by the current government. And both are wrong. Government should be there to rule based on economics and politics, not on religion. You criticize the government not looking after the economy, because that is or military or the defense. Those are the portfolios of the government, not based on religion. Whereas today, every politician is leveraging religious. That Akbaruddin Owaisi was sent to jail for inciting the Muslims. And he's saying that, okay, give us few days without the police and we'll kill all the Hindus. This is what the guy is saying publicly. And he's an MLA. His brother is the MP. What kind of nonsense is that? So I'm not blaming one group versus the other. But I heard a lot of criticism from Pandit Sharma about the current government, and I don't disagree with that. But I'm saying that there is a lot of blame to go around, and government should be held responsible for economic benefits, for justice, don't get involved with the religion, and uniformity of civil code. What's in it for us? I made enough points there. What's in it for? Why should we, NRIs, who have made this as our country, be concerned? Yes, India is my Janma Bhoomi, so I care about it. But my child, for them, that's not a Janma Bhoomi. And my grandchildren, they don't even know much about it. So what do? Well, the reason is, if India does well, the image of Indian people of Indian origin goes up. It's good for us. Others of living together in harmony with lots of religions, lots of different cultures, lots of languages, and we can be a showcase for the rest of the world. Because as we grow and as technology grows, world is going to shrink more and more, and we're going to be one Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. And we need to have models whereby people can say that, look at this country, such a large country, not as wealthy as United States or any of the Western countries, yet they have stability, they have peace, they have tranquility, people live together in spite of 10, 15, 20 religions. That is what we can do. And that's why it's important for an initiative like this, Cohesive India, that Mike is talking about. It's important, and it is possible. India can be that, because inherently it has been in the past. All these people who got persecuted overseas came to India, and because of the Hindu majority and this thought about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, they got asylum. The Zoroastrians, the Parsis came to India because they got kicked out by the Muslims. They came here. The Tibetan Buddhists, Dalai Lama came to India because he got overrun by the Chinese, the communists. What is the segment of Islam? They're getting persecuted in Pakistan.
Ahmadiyya.
Ahmadiyya. All kinds of people came and got refuge and got reception, favorable reception, because of this thought of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. And I, for one, feel that if we proliferate that, and most of the Indian people, whether they are Christians, Muslims, Hindus, whatever, they have this background of thinking Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Dileep, regardless of which religion they belong.
You got about 3 minutes to conclude.
Yeah. So as a result, I, for one, feel that India has all the ingredients to be the lead country in this world to demonstrate how we can live harmoniously together, regardless of the religion. But to do that, we need to be truly secular, which is segregation and separation of religion from state. And let the government focus only on the economy, defense, and some of these other areas, monetary policies, and let the religion, be handled by the people themselves. And for me, there has to be one single civil code. So none of these religious segregation based on law, justice, preferential treatment, subsidies, and things like that. With that, I'll hand it over to Mike.
Thank you very much. You brought in a lot of points to talk about. I just want to clarify for the purpose of recording here, want to share with whoever listens that we are putting all our thoughts together. Whether we agree or disagree, that is different, but a lot of thoughts are here. And of course, Dileep, there were a few things like conversions and a few things that you brought. We can disagree on those things, but
Sure.
The idea is let's put all our problems on the table and find out how we can solve them. So I would accept all your points, and then we have to talk about it. Now we go to Dr. Pallavi Gowda. She is an expert in medicine. And,
Mr. Mike,
yes, sir.
Mr. Mike,
Yes, sir.
can you give me 1 minute to intervene, if you
Yes.
permit me? Because Mr. Dileep gave certain things totally wrong. They are factually wrong. So as a true Bharatiya, I can't observe all these which are not on factual basis. He said that the Hajj subsidies there. So there are subsidies even for Char Dham Yatra, Amarnath Yatra, and we organize Mahakumbh at the basis of 4 years, sometimes 2 years. And thousands of the crores of the Indian taxpayers' money is spent on the preparation of all these things. So just to say and blame certain section of the society for this selective purposes is not a good idea. Number one. Number two, as long as this 370 is concerned, there is another provision in Northeast. Nobody talks about that. 371 is there. Nagaland, Mizoram, and all that. So, to just, and for the last more than 1 year and 3 months now, thousands of people were put behind the jail and they're still in the jail. And what is the progress was achieved by removing the so-called 370? So these are the real things which had to be understood. So, and he is right that the present government is really differentiating, and they, the government of UP is spending crores of the rupees for this Deepavali Utsav in Ayodhya. So if it is a secular country, how they can do? The Prime Minister went to lay the foundation stone in Ayodhya on 5th of August, which was totally inauspicious day as per Hindu tradition. It was totally opposed by the Hindu religious authorities, just like Jagat Guru Shankaracharya, who is the highest religious authority here in India. So they are mixing the religion. They are openly threatening the minorities. And whatever they are saying, the uniform civil code, there is no uniformity even in Hindus. The Hindus of South, the Hindus of North, in the tradition, in the ritual, there are so many differences. So just to demand and isolate some people, they are bringing certain things. This is not cohesiveness. I am sorry to say, brother, this is not cohesiveness. This is divisiveness. And this needs to be avoided. Thank you very much for giving me this introduction of 1.5 minutes. But there are certain other things, whenever the time permits, I will try to come forward with the facts. Not any government earlier, they didn't do like this, that all constitution is set aside. Okay, it has never happened. No, this is totally wrong. Just to say, yeah, in the past it was happening in the past. No, this is not correct. See, even the Supreme Court, there are so many journalists who is in jail. But Arnab Goswami is given a special treatment because he's attacking the minorities, he's attacking all the media is being used as a publicity platform, the ruling BJP party. This is not democracy, brother. So these are the certain facts and figures on record. And in our Sanatan Dharma, they don't differentiate between Christian and the Muslims or Buddhism. No, they simply say each and every individual is part of us. And they say it openly. Even Tulsidasa, the great sage who wrote the Ramayana, and whatever they are building the Ram temple, it is totally not on the basis of our real philosophy. No, they don't understand that. So they are using the sentiments of the majority people. They are trying to, divide. So these are the facts and figures.
Thank you, Sharmaji.
Well, I got to respond to Sharmaji because he
just
1 second, 1 minute. Sharmaji, I agree with you. I don't have all the facts about subsidies, and I stand corrected because I have left India a long time ago. But what I've read was this. Obviously, it was the wrong information about subsidies. I have not heard of any subsidies for Christians, for instance, but maybe there are for going to Italy or to the, so, they have every reason to worry about that. No, that's what I'm saying. And they not being uniform across the Hindus, that is true. But I'm saying that keep religion out of the politics, keep the religion out of the state. And the law should not be dependent upon the religion at all. Civil law should be independent of the religion.
Right. You are right.
That is what I'm saying.
You are right, brother.
You have, Dileep, you have made your points. I appreciate that. I think here we are accepting all different points of view. And I think we have to go through it and understand what's going on. And I appreciate the intervention by Dr. Sharma. And now we go to Dr. Pallavi Gowda. You got to unmute, Pallavi, unmute yourself, please.
Okay, I have unmuted myself, so sorry about that. Thank you, Mike, for the opportunity to be on this panel. Sharma ji, it's an honor. Thatte ji, it's an honor to be on this panel with you. And, I come from obviously a different perspective, but much of what I have to say is a reiteration of much of what's already been said. So I came to this country when I was 6. First generation, meaning the United States. And so being a first generation immigrant along with my parents, I have a different perspective as someone compared to someone who has obviously grown up in India and is living there and facing all of the challenges that we discuss here. So I respect the fact that some of the views may seem very theoretical, ideological, and perhaps at times not practical. But I think, the most important thing to realize is that we're all Indians, right? So whether we are living in India, whether we're living in the US, whether we are Hindu, Muslim, Jain, Christian, and Sikh, any religion.
Can you speak up a little bit to the microphone?
Yes. So no matter what religion we are all Indian. And so as long as we have that sense of unity, that should be our guiding force in terms of what dictates our daily life as well as politics, right? So much of what's been mentioned, separation of church and state is a very important concept, because when you have so much fighting over religious differences, that concept in itself seems a contraindication to, or not contraindication, but seems like an oxymoron, I should say, because religion is a personal choice, right? I feel like in this group we're all in agreement with this. So religion is a personal choice, and so judging someone based on how their path to peace doesn't make sense, right? So the very basis of and then even expanding that to having fighting and then there's loss of lives involved is a very unfortunate situation. and you know, coming seeing this situation as a mother and trying to explain to my 9-year-old why two group of people fight over religion is the hardest conversation to have. It doesn't make sense. And so I think that if we take a step back and realize, as Sharmaji mentioned, we're all have the same blood, we have the same organs. So being a doctor, right, I look at it from that way. So skin is only very superficial, whether and so no matter what color we are, no matter what religion we are, we all have the same blood, same organs, same physiology, same anatomy, right? So I think, you know, the big thing is India, we have to celebrate the diversity, and India has to be the beacon of the hope of different groups living together in unity, and be an example. And I feel I should mention, I feel that India is already. What needs to happen is to expand on that, um and so to say, you know, we don't have cohesiveness is not exactly accurate. So in the sense, I can just come from my own personal perspective, right? So I used to visit India every summer. I used to interact with my grandfather, who was a freedom fighter, PMC Chikaporaya. He was a very large role model in my life. And so he taught me about fighting for the people overall. He didn't bring up caste, he didn't bring up religion in that conversation. He brought up fighting for the country. And so he was an immense role model, lawyer by profession. He was in politics. He was anti-corruption. Anyone who dared mention anything that resembled corruption would tremble in front of him. And so, you know, we need more people like that. And so, and even in my father's village in Netko, Mandya in Karnataka, I saw people of different faiths living in neighboring villages and carrying on day-to-day fine. You know, this the differences that we speak about, as mentioned by the other speakers, are largely, you know, from the leaders above. They have to realize day-to-day people just want to survive. They want to, you know, they have the issues of working, having, being able to sustain themselves, getting through this COVID pandemic. So all of these are the real issues that, you know, need to be focused on, rather than bringing religion into this mix somehow. It's the largest oxymoron if you take a step back and think about it. And so, you know, we have to, whether it's Indians in India or whether it's India abroad, we have to realize that India is a, so Indians in general, the most educated, being from a country of the largest democracy, the highest consumers, you know, excellent in their fields when they really put their mind to it, whether it's politics, whether it's military, whether it's in medicine. You know, you see things like yoga is now become so common in the Western world. You have children who are, you know, the top spelling champions are usually Indians. In fact, I think the 3 that tied this year were all Indian. And so, and even expanding into Hollywood. So in other words, people are looking to India, right? So what's sometimes put out in the media is the poverty, is the divisiveness, but in reality, that's not the India that I've seen and visited, and that's not the India that I want to portray to my children and take. You know, when I take them to India, I want to be able to show them the love that Indians possess and that unity that day to day everyone Indians live by. I think one other thing I would like to really mention is, because I'm very strong proponent of an organization, or involved with an organization called Asha for Women. So I think, you know, as we talk about respect for other religions, we also have to speak about respect for women, right? So whether we like it or not, we have to just face the facts and say India has the highest rate of crime against women, right? So, and that doesn't make sense, right? We're, we're a nation that respects women. In Hinduism, we have gods who are women. So, we in our culture respect our mother, our wives, our sisters, all of that. But why this violence and why this tolerance to violence against women? I think if the government puts more of their energies into um, protecting their women rather than defending their religion, the world will be a better place. I think that the world will be a better place, but I say that because it's really a global issue, right? Right. We're talking about India now, and so that's why I'm bringing it up. And being Indian, it's near and dear to me, and it chokes me up even to talk about it. But being involved with Asha for Women, and it's a local organization here in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. We get close to 400 calls last year, 400 calls this year. Because of the COVID pandemic, it's been much less. But it's a real issue, and it happens in different socioeconomic classes. So it's not just poverty, it's not just uneducated, although that has to be addressed as well. And so I think that if we learn to put aside religious differences, respect human beings for just plain being human. So humanity over religion, humanity over gender bias. We will, as a nation, we will prosper. Indians will prosper, and in the global platform, we will charge forward much more than we already are. So those are the things that I would like to mention.
Thank you, Pallavi. I think you brought in a very critical issue about women. That is almost 50% of the population that is being ignored, and we need to respect women. I think that's a great point you brought out. Let me share a few things. I think we heard different points of view. The more points of view we hear from different people of India, then we will have a comprehensive picture to work through. If we don't hear differences, whether we agree or not agree, then we are being blind to the feelings people have. We need to acknowledge everybody's feeling. Whether they are right or wrong, that is not the issue. So I appreciate sharing your thoughts, particularly the women, and the work you're doing in Asha is very important. My late wife also worked with women, and it was a very similar story. At the night time, we used to go pick up women thrown out of the house in Dallas, Texas, and take care of them. And we we housed them for some time, and we got them out and put them into jobs. It's a very critical issue, not only in India, it's all over. But for some reason, India is saying a lot of abuse of women, and that needs to be taken. There is half
Mike, is this people of women of Indian origin or any women?
Indian origin.
Really?
There's
I
a
did
lot
not
of
know.
abuse, husbands beating up wives. It is so common, it is unbelievable. You
Really?
and I may not see it, but it is there.
Wow.
So I should mention the calls that the 400 calls I referred to were related to domestic violence. So,
And they
I
are from
think
Indian women?
somehow, as soon as you mention India violence, somehow people go on this trajectory of, oh, it's the other religion, whichever religion you are, it's the other religion. And it's, more prevalent in poverty and therefore, and uneducated. And if you educate people, then, that will change, but that's not the reality, right? So even the highly educated, it affects them. In fact, the population demographics of women that call, mainly it's women, it's also men. So we really need to point that out. But the demographics of the women who call, at most of them, a large majority, I don't want to say a percentage because I don't remember, but a large majority have a bachelor's.
And these are Indian women, Pallavi?
These are Indian women. I should mention mostly Indian, but it's a South Asian.
Wow, did not know that.
Well, about India, India is the first country in the entire universe where different ideas, different religions thrived. Buddhism, Jainism, and later Sikhism and other religions. India has welcomed all religions. India has thrived. There was a good tradition, good culture going on, and we need to honor the tradition that India had. Acceptance of others is what pluralism is born in India. Acceptance of other people was the key for India's success. During Akbar, we had the highest GDP. 25% of the world GDP was during the Mughal Empire. They gave a lot to India, like all others have, and they are Indians. They are not outsiders. In my school, Dileep, one of the things, it all begins at the children's level. I went to a Urdu school, learning a Urdu school. In my social studies class in the 6th grade, I can never forget that book. There were 2 pages dedicated to Lord Rama, Lord Krishna, Guru Nanak, Buddha, Jesus, Moses, Muhammad, and everyone. We read about them in my class with respect, with honor. That is part of my training, that these are all different people came for restoring dharma or the righteousness in the society. To me, I don't value Krishna or Muhammad more than others. They are all equal contributors. They contributed to their societies to create cohesion in the society so that every human is respected. And that is what we need to look. How can we build an India where no Indian is treated any less? What you eat is your choice. What you believe is your choice. As Pallavi and you and Sharma mentioned, let religion be a personal choice. Let the state and religion be 2 different things. You can eat whatever you want, wear whatever you want. That is not my issue. How can we work together, live together, go travel in the train, study in the library, eat in the restaurant, even marrying together? How can we create harmony among all Indians? God created this universe in harmony. Our role, that is your, me, and all of us role, is to maintain that harmony. And the reason for maintaining that harmony is you can live in peace. You shouldn't live in any fear of fellow humans. Live in peace, and we got to create an environment where you, me, Pallavi, Dr. Sharma can always live in peace without fear of other Indians. It can be done by listening to each other. Many of the myths we hold dear, we are not clarified. We have to question ourselves or have a discussion like this. And I think Sharmaji clarified about the subsidies, which you were not. So these discussions are very critical to understand the differences and the myths. Once the myths are taken out of our mind, then I see to you, Dileep, I don't see as Hindu with a certain values. I see you as a fellow human being who eats food to nurture his body, who is kind to fellow human beings because others are kind to him. That's what we want to do. And I think it begins with the education. We need someday to work on going through the school books of all things and see what kind of education children are getting. If you poison the children from the very beginning, look, that is a Hindu, don't trust him. He's a Muslim, don't trust him. And those 2 kids, when they grow up, start working in the same IT company, and there will not be a trust between them, because what the parents have poisoned him, that kid is not fully with the fellow person who was taught. I'll give you an example. There was a guy by name Dr. Ganesh. He's from Karnataka. His father's friends told me he's coming to Washington, D.C. So he stayed with me for one full month. After 1 month, we used to have conversation every night. He was busy with his internship or whatever that was. After a month, he told me, Mike, I wish my parents had not poisoned me about Muslims, about the black people. So why do you say that? They told me Muslims are dirty, Muslims are not clean. And here you are, cleaner than me. You keep your place clean. And I had many myths about you. I was apprehensive living with you, but now I lived with you. All those are gone. So Dileep and Pallavi, we have to sit down and have a conversation. Women somehow, we think, I think it was Amir Khan put a very good show about this. He put the program in such a way that about the abortion, and then everybody, the viewers thought, oh, it's only poor people, uneducated people. Then he went to another grade where urban people working together. Oh yeah, they're urban people, they do that. Then finally he went to a doctor couple in New Delhi who were the husband, the doctor, telling his wife doctor to abort the child because they were girl childs. So it, it permeates throughout the society. So we need to work on education with children, what kind of books they are reading. And we need to tell parents that please don't poison them. When they grow up, they have to work with a Dalit, they have to work with a Muslim, they will have to work with someone if they come to America or any place like this. And if you have apprehensions about the other, if I'm hiring you, Pallavi, I want to hire you that you can work with my fellow other employees. If you're not willing to work with them with wholeheartedly, my company is at loss, so I shouldn't be hiring you. So the parents needs to be informed that don't poison your children. So that's what I have to say, and I appreciate everyone for sharing their point of view. We can conclude it by.
Do you mind if I ask you one question?
Go ahead, Pallavi.
So, Mike, as you know, you're my go-to person if I have any question about like religious question, whether it's about Muslims, mainly Muslims I go to with you because it's easy to have a comfortable discussion with you, and I've always appreciated that because many others get very emotional, unnecessarily emotionally, right? Because some people like myself are just trying to clear doubts. So one of the difficulties I've had are well-intentioned people of Abrahamic religions because of that fundamental philosophy that whatever path that they follow is the ultimate truth. Because of that, it causes a difficulty for many of them to see the others, accept the other side. And so I've been, I grew up in the Midwest around many Christians who, would come over even to our house and say, I really like you. You and your family are just wonderful people. Because I care so much about you, I want to tell you about Jesus Christ. And so this is like really good people. And so, we also, I think that's part of much of the differences, even Muslim religion. So what do you say to that? How do you respond to that?
It's, I think once you start knowing each other, in your case you did, what we need to share with them is, look, there are different paths. God has created each one of us to be unique. We've got our own thumbprint, our own eye print, our DNA is different. Even if the same mother raised two siblings, brother and sister, same food was delivered to the child, but when they grew up, they have different taste buds because your brother and sister may not like the same sweets, same food that you like. So that's how unique we are. But God has intentionally created this, and we need to accept and respect that uniqueness. Yes, you believe in Jesus. We admire you. We appreciate you. But I believe in the Krishna or Bhagavad Gita. That is my choice, as it is your choice. and your choice is not superior to mine, nor mine is superior to you. The minute we think our choices are superior to the other, we are more privileged than the other, that's where it creates conflicts. You and I don't have any conflicts as long as we keep the religion personal. That's your personal belief. Even in your own family, I am sure some are Protestant, some are Catholic, and some are different. You don't have an issue. You shouldn't have an issue with them.
Right. Right.
Mike, I sometimes feel that conversion is a spiritual violence.
Can you speak a little bit louder?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Conversion itself, I feel sometimes that it's a spiritual violence, because conversion, even out of goodness of my heart, if I want you to convert, that means I am saying my belief is superior to you, and I want you to be benefited. So please come to my belief. That itself is a violence, spiritual violence, and I
For-
think
Forced conversion is definitely spiritual violence. And by the way, neither Islam nor Christianity or Judaism teaches there is clear verses in the books. Do not compel anybody to believe what you
right.
believe. There is a freedom, but people, individuals do. And that does not mean it is the religion that is telling them. Well,
But
maybe one
Pallavi,
minute
what
from
you
each
have
of you.
explained, your experience about people coming to the door, we all have gone through this.
Right.
In fact, we came to this country long before you did, and there were few and far between of us. So I was studied in upstate New York in my graduate school, and I'm telling you that this is very common. Uh, and your observation is very well taken, that there are religions who believe that that is the only way
Sure.
and not a way. And whereas Hinduism believes that there are many paths to realizing the truth, and as such, there is a lot more acceptance.
And that's what
That's
they,
why you will not see a Hindu desecrating any of the other religious places.
yeah.
We will, we've been taught that doesn't matter whether you're passing a church or a mosque, you just nod and bow in deference
That's so
and
true.
reverence.
Yet people do, yet individuals do. But does not reflect on Hinduism, what individuals do. So we need to
I'm
be
saying
very
that
clear.
this Hindu tradition teaching
Yeah.
that I know.
Dilip, let's conclude. Maybe take 2 minutes each and make a conclusion statement. Start with you and then Pallavi.
Well, I think it's a great initiative. I think we should meet more people should participate. Um, Cohesion is very important. India can be a beacon of cohesion. It already has fair amount of. I was in the same lines as Pallavi was saying that I feel that there is cohesion in India, but it can be improved. It can be enhanced. It can be accentuated, and I think it can be a beacon to the rest of the world by demonstrating that numerous religions can live together in peace and harmony. Um, and so from our side, we should make our effort, whatever little effort we can, in order to accomplish that and move in that direction as a journey. Um, Not living in India, I don't know how much impact we can have, but we certainly can have an impact amongst our next generation. That hey,
Well,
and if they start uh, being friends, and they are. I grew up in Hyderabad, and my classmates were belong to all of the religions. As Mike would know, Pallavi, you may not know, but Hyderabad is predominantly Muslim, the city, and there are lots of Christians. It's a very cosmopolitan city. I spent 3 weeks in Karnataka 3 years ago traveling around, and I was impressed that in Karnataka there is a significant amount of harmony between the Muslims, Christians, and the Hindus, especially in the coffee plantation areas that I went to. I was really, one of my cousins owns a coffee plantation. Copa area, and that was beautiful. The scenery was beautiful. The whole culture and of trusting each other and honesty. Why can we all not live like that across the country? I think we can. Um, and so I commend the initiative, and let's hope that this thing catches momentum and more people think in this way. Uh,
Thank you so much, Dileep. Appreciate it. Pallavi, it's your turn.
Yes, thank you. So, Mike, I really appreciate the opportunity to speak today. This is something near and dear to me, even though I have not lived in India. I want to be able to take my children to India and show them the beautiful India that I have seen. And so, India is unique with the ancient culture, the diversity, and we have to respect that and not fight amongst one another. And I think that if we have the three important points that I had mentioned when I spoke are basically humanity over religion, and treating everyone as a human being rather than of a certain religious faith, then the nation will prosper. Realizing India's global impact, that what happens in, it's not just what happens in India stays in India like Vegas. It has a global impact. There are many Indians looking to see what's happening in India, as well as economically, IT world, medical world, all of that. So there are repercussions to what happens in the nation. The reputation in the world is very important. So we have to overcome these challenges and unify, because we're always stronger united than divided ever.
Sure.
And then respect for human beings, whether any gender, those kind of things. I didn't even get into LGBT community, but that's respect for all human beings is really the key. And I think that I really hope, and I really hope that the audience in India will not see this as they don't live here, so they don't understand the struggles. I think that there's a broader message to be sent out, and so we have a vested interest. We want to take our children to India. I want to visit India, and I want to visit a safe and peaceful and diverse and unified India.
Thank you. Thank you. I think one of the things, the next month, the program will talk about how accepting each other, having religious freedom brings prosperity. America is a prosperous nation because religion has not been an issue among people. So if we can look to this model and create some ideas how India can be a prosperous nation, peaceful nation, by having freedom, religious, political, social freedom. Once we have that, then the worries about what happens to me next will go away, and I'll focus on being productive. So with that, we'll conclude the program. And this is recorded. Thanks for reminding me, Pallavi. And we will share that with people, and we will keep working on it. Thank you very much. Dileep,
Thank you,
thank you.
Mike. Thank you, Pallavi. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too. Happy Diwali also.
Happy Diwali.
Okay.
Take care. Bye.
Is it still being recorded, Mike?
No, I'll stop the recording.
You have to stop the.
Let's say stop recording.